You cried today, or yesterday, or sometime recently. Maybe at something stupid, a commercial, a song, a text from someone you haven't heard from in a while, and you probably felt a little embarrassed about it. Here's what nobody tells you. No other animal on the planet can do what you just did. Not even close. And the reason why changes everything you think you know about what it means to be human. Let's start with what seems obvious. You cry because you're sad. You cry because something hurts.
Your eyes water. Something releases. And usually, you feel a little better afterward. Simple. Emotional. Biological. The kind of thing that doesn't need explaining. Except, it absolutely does. Your eyes produce 3 types of tears. Basal tears. The ones that keep your eyes lubricated constantly so they don't dry out. Reflex tears, the ones that flood your eyes when you cut an onion or get hit with smoke or dust. Every animal with eyes produces both of those. That's not special. That's just plumbing. The 3rd type is different. Emotional tears. Tears triggered not by anything physical, not by anything in your environment, but by something you feel. And no other species on Earth produces them. Not elephants, who have complex grief rituals. Not chimpanzees, our closest genetic relatives. Not dogs, who clearly feel fear, loyalty, and something that looks a lot like love. They all have tear ducts. They all produce the first 2 types, but none of them cry when something breaks their heart. Only us. Charles Darwin noticed this in 1872 and called it one of the most puzzling expressions in the human repertoire. He spent years trying to fit it into his theory of natural selection and couldn't. If crying serves a survival function, what is it? It blurs your vision. It signals to every predator within eyeshot that you're distressed. It takes resources your body could spend elsewhere. By every evolutionary calculation, emotional crying should have been selected out of us hundreds of thousands of years ago. It wasn't. And the reason why starts with what your tears actually contain. Emotional tears are chemically different from the other 2 types. In 1982, biochemist William Frey became the first person to study this seriously. What he found was unexpected. Emotional tears contain significantly higher concentrations of stress hormones than reflex tears. Specifically, adrenocorticotropic hormone, one of the key chemicals your body releases during emotional stress. Your tears aren't just water. They're literally removing stress chemistry from your body every time you cry. Frey's hypothesis was simple. Crying is excretion. The same way your body sweats out toxins, it might cry out stress hormones. You don't feel better after crying because something emotional happened. You feel better because your body just flushed a measurable quantity of cortisol out through your eyes. Think about that for a second. But here's what doesn't get talked about enough. The chemical explanation only tells you what crying does. It doesn't explain why humans developed it and nothing else did. Because stress hormones aren't unique to us. Every mammal produces cortisol. Every mammal experiences distress. So why is the tear duct the only system in the human body that evolved to excrete them? The answer goes deeper than biology. It goes into what makes human social groups different from every other animal on Earth. Around 200,000 years ago, human tribes were getting bigger. Groups that had operated in tight bands of 20 or 30 were beginning to cluster into communities of hundreds. And that created a problem no other animal had ever faced at that scale. How do you communicate genuine vulnerability to a stranger? With a small group, everyone knows everyone. Trust is built over years of shared experience. But in a larger group, surrounded by people you barely know, you need a signal, something that cannot be faked. Something that says, without words, I am not a threat. I am in pain. I need help. Tears are that signal. Here's what's remarkable about that. In 2011, researchers at the Weizmann Institute in Israel ran an experiment. They had women watch sad films and collected both emotional tears and saline solution that looked identical. Then they had men smell each, without knowing which was which. The men who smelled the actual tears showed measurable drops in testosterone and reported lower feelings of aggression. The tears contained no scent the men could consciously identify, but their bodies responded anyway. Tears were sending a chemical signal through the air that lowered the aggression of the people around them. Crying didn't just communicate vulnerability, it chemically induced a calmer response in the people nearby. That's not weakness. That's one of the most sophisticated social technologies in the animal kingdom. And it explains something else: why crying is contagious. You've experienced this. Someone near you starts crying and something shifts in your chest before you've even processed why. That's not sentimentality. That's your nervous system receiving a signal it has been tuned to respond to for hundreds of thousands of years. Your brain reads tears the same way it reads a face, instantly, automatically, before your conscious mind has a chance to weigh in. But there's a layer underneath even that, something that connects crying to one of the things that makes humans genuinely different from every other species. To cry emotionally, you have to feel something abstract enough that your body mobilizes a physical response to it. You don't cry because you're cold. You don't cry because you're hungry.
You cry because someone you love is gone. You cry because something beautiful happened. You cry because you read something that made you feel less alone at midnight. These are not immediate physical threats. These are representations of things, symbols, meaning. No other animal responds to meaning with a physical cascade that changes the chemistry of the room. When you cry at a film, you are not confused about what's real. Your brain knows it's a film, but it responds to the emotional truth of it anyway, because humans are the only species that can be moved by something that isn't even happening to them. That capacity, the ability to feel the weight of someone else's reality, someone fictional, someone long dead, someone you've never met. That is the same capacity that built language, religion, art, and every story ever told. Tears are the physical proof that it's working. So here's the full picture. You cry for reasons your body understood before your mind did. You cry to flush stress from your system. You cry to send a signal that cannot be faked, one that makes the people around you chemically calmer and more cooperative. You cry because your brain is sophisticated enough to feel the reality of things that aren't immediately in front of you. And somewhere in the distance between those three things is the whole story of what humans are. Every other animal on Earth responds to the world as it is. We respond to the world as we understand it, as we remember it, as we imagine it could be. And sometimes, when that understanding becomes too much to hold inside, it comes out through our eyes. That embarrassing cry over a commercial, the tears that showed up when you didn't expect them. That's not weakness leaking out. That's 200,000 years of human complexity doing exactly what it was built to do.